Jordan, going to 3, you got it done anyway, but probably not what you wanted. How much respect do you have for Marceller, his story getting here, and just his performance tonight?
A ton. You know, he had to battle a lot of demons to get to the stage, and he's a formidable opponent. I knew that going into this event, and he proved that even further today. He's a guy that I have tremendous respect for. He was one of the leaders of the next generation until he was derailed by some difficulties that he had in his own personal life, but I think that he's in a good place now. He's going to be a guy that's going to help me prepare for the World Championships in September.
Jordan, through the years, what have you learned about match 3 situations that help you?
No one can beat me in match 3. Match 3, you know, honestly, it comes down to a lot of heart, a lot of faith. Faith in our training, faith in our God and, you know, our Savior, faith in my coaching staff and my training partners. And, you know, regularly on Fridays, we do simulation days. So we have 2 matches. We've been doing a lot of VersaClimber workouts over the last couple of weeks, a lot of Airdyne workouts, really just pushing ourselves to our furthest boundaries, trying to perform at an optimal level. So I knew that I was prepared for a 3rd match. But I also know anytime someone beats me, especially in a series, it is mentally overwhelming for them. It's a mental drain, and they have to re-prepare to try to do it twice in a row. But I also know that in any other sport, you don't really think about the sweep or about the give and take. You think about the winner. And so I thought less about what happened in the last match. I had a quick memory or short memory, and I just went out there and wanted to perform.
2011 to now, totally different Jordan Burroughs, your first world title, different club, moved to a different place, 4 kids, new life, totally different guy. How do you maintain this level? I asked Helen the same question. How do you get better with age?
Faith, consistency, surrounding yourself with great people. I went from a great staff at Nebraska, great training partners there, and fit in like a glove at the PRTC. I think the biggest difference now is I have so many obligations outside of the wrestling room. You know, in 2011, I didn't really have much on my plate. I was relatively unknown, and I didn't get everyone's best shot because I was a newcomer to the game. Now I'm very familiar. There's a lot of video on me. Guys have watched me wrestle, even cheered for me, but now they want to knock me off. And so I understand the position that I'm in. It's difficult. It's really hard, but that's why we do it. We do really hard things, and we challenge ourselves, and we want to overcome those things. So we present a challenge, we prep for the challenge, and then with blessings, we overcome the challenge. I was able to do that today. I've got a great team around me. I got so many people to thank, from my trainers and Garrett Hood, Connor Milstein, to my head coach, Brandon Slade, to all my training partners, Dave McFadden, Joey McKenna, Mark Hall, my wife, my family, everyone that supported me throughout this journey. It's not been easy, but it's been a lot of fun. I'm enjoying this ride, and I still got a lot of work to do.
As you get older in age, what are some things that you've had to change physically to kind of stay at this level?
Well, I got a lot of aches and bruises, a lot of bumps, just from a lot of miles on my body. I try to perform well as often as possible, but I've really started to key in on development and different facets of my training. Going from isolated movements to functional movements to lifting less frequently to, you know, just alternative methods to try to stay fresh, but also keep a fun aspect of the sport. You know, it's been nice to be in a new city like Philadelphia, to be close to my family. They've been really helpful with the family dynamic. Having that big network on the East Coast and the Tri-State area has been huge. But, you know, I think the biggest thing for me, honestly, is trying to stay as linked to everything as possible. This is my son, Beacon. Beacon just started wrestling about a year ago. I told him today he's going to be on this stage someday. So we're prepping him slowly to be a champion himself, but more so to be a good young man.
Speaking of your kid, how much more do you think you got before you wanted to spend time developing your kid?
I got 2024. 2024 is it for me. I've set that goal for myself. I want another shot at Dake and then another shot at Sidikoff in 2024, and then I'm gonna ride off into the sunset, regardless of performance, regardless of outcome, whether I'm a gold medalist or I don't make the team. 2024 is my last year of competition in the sport of wrestling.
You've had some legendary performance. The ankle was 2013. I don't even know how that was crazy. You broke your ankle. They surgically repaired it. You won a world title a month later, not 26 days later, something crazy like that. The knee in 2014, you came back and took a bronze, blew your knee out. How are you able to go through such adversity and continue to win and win and win?
You can ask my coaching staff, my training partners. Honestly, like, I have like a supernatural healing ability. Like, it's not me at all. It's nothing that I do. I just kind of operate in a situation of awareness and trying to take care of my body. But I've been blessed with a tremendous ability to heal, which is no accomplishment of my own. So, you know, I've gone through a lot of things for the last decade of my wrestling career, but fortunately I've always been prepared on the big days. I think part of being a champion is knowing that you've got to be willing to perform and able to perform on the biggest stages, because if you're injured, then don't compete, and if you compete, then you're not injured. So when I show up, regardless of what I'm dealing with at that particular time, I focus on what I'm capable of and what I'm willing to put out there on the mat. So everything that I'm dealing with may not be revealed to the world, but also I understand that some of the things that I've encountered have been just unfortunate luck and probability, but I also have been blessed with a tremendous ability to heal quickly. I'm like Superman. I got regenerative powers.
Wolverine.
What
was this one from right here?
This is, I think this was like
Yeah, what was that?
my head. It's everything feels better when you win. I'd have been a lot more sore tomorrow had I gotten beat. So, you know, it's 79 is good, man. I feel good. I've been eating good. I had a steak on Wednesday night when we got in, or excuse me, Monday night when we got in. Last night I had dinner. I don't ever have dinner at 74 kilos the night before weigh-ins. The 11:30 weigh-in today was huge because we got to wake up late, sleep in, train before weigh-ins, go out and compete this evening. So I feel good at this weight class. But also I think, you know, this is just part of the game. You know, if you watch a lot of my world championships, world team trials, I'm wrapped up often. So it's just kind of part of the journey. Is I shoot a lot, I wrestle with a high pace, and put a lot of velocity behind my shots, and so most oftentimes I end up bleeding.
What opened things up in match 3?
Just continuous encouragement from my staff. You know, just telling me like, hey, you're capable, you're prepared, you're ready for this, you were built for this, you can do this, you've been here before, you've done this on many occasions. And I think that's ultimately what kind of gave me the reassurance and the peacefulness that I knew that I was ready. I knew that I've been prepared for this. And it's only an 18th minute of wrestling. You know, we train every day for multiple hours a day just for a 6-minute match. And so after each match, it's its own isolated incident. It's exclusive to that 6 minutes and no other part of my day. And so after I lost that second match, I recognized that, you know, shoot, I would much rather be celebrating with my family right now. But my coaching staff continued to pour into me, and they said, listen, you're ready. You can do this. You're capable. And if you're willing, you can go out and show the world why you're one of the toughest guys in the world. So it takes a lot of heart. And Tervel Delagnev was in my corner today. I haven't seen Tervel all year, really since the World Team Trials. And he was one of the guys that I called because I trust him a lot. And so him and Slay are a perfect combination in my corner. And I love having those guys around, and they give me a ton of encouragement and keep me mentally locked in where I need to be to perform at an optimal level.
When did you decide 2024 was going to be it?
Probably a few years ago. I think, you know, I thought 2020 was going to be it. And it didn't finish the way I wanted it to. And I figured, you know, at every point, you're like, you reevaluate, you reassess how you feel physically. It's like, okay, my shoulder's a little banged up, I can make it. My knee's a little tweaked, nah, I can handle it. So I think at this point now, I'm like, okay, things are starting to hurt and linger a little longer. Like they're not going away after a couple of days. So, you know, I feel like it's almost that time for me. Plus my kids are getting older. Like, you know, it's hard to be a great man and have great kids because you're so busy pursuing your own goals intently that you forget about really pouring into your family because you're so deliberate on achieving the things that you set out to do yourselves. And so I think the great thing for me is I have kids that are a constant reminder to me to settle down, to stop, slow down, and smell the roses. And then also, he's like, Dad, I love what you love because you've pursued it first and you showed me how it was done. Now, really intently show me. And so I think it's a really cool situation I have at the PRTC. We've got Rich Perry, who has 4 kids, Brandon Slade, who has 4 kids, I have 4 kids. So we have a really special bond where we're all in a very similar season of life, and we can bounce ideas off of each other, help each other grow as husbands and as fathers. But I think, 2024, it feels like it's time. I'll be 36 years old. My son will be 10 years old, and he will just be getting into a realm of competition himself. And, you know, I've been on the road for a long time. I put a lot of miles on my body, and at this point, I've given all I could give to this sport. And so when I step away, I want it to be for good. I don't want to have any sort of indication or or kind of nudge to come back, or man, I can beat these guys, I can still do this, I can make this team again. I want to be through with it and say, hey, I've poured it out, I've sacrificed everything, I've committed my all to this sport of wrestling, and I can walk away in peace and contentment knowing that I've done what I could. But I haven't reached that time yet, but if I don't set a hard date in 2024, I'm like, I don't know, Olympics are in LA, they're domestic, I might can make it, but I'll be 40 years old in LA, there's no way. In wrestling, you live your life a cycle at a time. So everyone says take it year by year, it's impossible. You're always looking at the Olympic Games at the end of that quad. I think Paris gives me the opportunity to do some things that I've really wanted to do. That's wrestle Kyle Lake again, and then also Zarbek Sidikov from Russia.
I was with you in London the night you won the Olympic gold medal.
Yeah.
Seems like yesterday.
I know.
We were out celebrating. It was a good time. And that was when you first, all I see is gold was born. I'm gonna go get John Smith's record. I'm gonna be the GOAT. It's coming, man. It's near, right?
It's near. It's near. You think about that stuff. Like when I lost that second match, you start to think a little bit like, damn, what's my summer gonna look like if I lose this match? If I don't buckle down and go get this done, what's the next few weeks of my life gonna look like? How am I gonna to dial in and be a good husband? How am I gonna treat my wife? What sort of words am I gonna address my family with over the next couple of weeks as I go through this darkness of trying to recover from defeat? But I still had the ability to control my destiny. So all those things go into your head in between matches. But I think ultimately, I'm in a great place right now. I feel good about the opportunity to go and get number 7. But also, honestly, I try to not look big picture. I try to just focus on the day. Like my job is to be a great husband, great father, get better at wrestling. Take care of my teammates, take care of the people around me, be a servant leader, be loving to all the people that have poured into me. And if 7 comes, then great. But I try not to look too much into it because I understand that the journey and the process of development is much more important than the goal. All of my medals, I don't even know where all my medals are. They're just all over the house. Some are in storage, some are at my parents', some are on the trophy case, some are in a bookshelf. It's about the journey, the people you meet, the memories. Like this is a memory. This scar on top of my head always remind me of MSG 2022. This 3-match series will always remind me of the words and encouragement that my coaches gave me between 2 matches. This video will remind me of my little boy Beacon at 7 years old standing with me in an interview, when someday he goes on to do something great himself. Like, this is what I cherish most. Not the medals, not the records. These moments are what I remember.
Those dark thoughts that run through your mind in between matches, are they seconds or minutes of that? How long do they go on?
Just a short period of time, because that was a quick turnaround. The round started at 6. I didn't wrestle until 8:30, and then you go from 8:30 to like 9. Right, so it's a really quick turnaround. You good, bro? But I think there's continuous reinforcement from the coaching staff. They don't allow you to even think a negative thought. So everything I think myself, there's like, hey, psh, you can do this. You're ready. You're ready. We've done this. You live for this. You were born for this. You were built for this. So all those things are good for me.
Beat the Streets. It's a developmental organization for youth to keep kids from the 5 boroughs off the streets and do positive things like wrestling.
Yeah.
And then you have, obviously, it's huge for kids who are people of color, and to help them develop. What does it mean to you to come wrestle in this event? You let your lights out in it every year. Every year your lights out in it, whether it's in Times Square, USS Intrepid, wherever it is, your lights out. What's it mean?
Well, you know what? We work very closely with Beat the Streets Philadelphia now. Basically a derivative of the large Beat the Streets National. So this is an umbrella and a branch of Beat the Streets, and they've done a phenomenal job in raising money and keeping kids out of the streets, out of trouble in underserved areas. And one of the things that I've realized working with Beat the Streets over this last year is I've spent a lot of time with Beat the Streets individuals, but it's always been technique, a little bit of encouragement here, selling the dream, showing them my medal, trying to give them the hope of someday being Olympic champions. But when you really start to work with these kids daily, you start to recognize the difficulties that they're going through on an everyday basis, what they go home to, how difficult their lives are. And so I think that my job now has been less wrestling and more mentorship, trying to be a father figure to these individuals where they're going home in a fatherless home with 5 younger siblings, where they're in a parental role at 15, 16 years old, and they're dealing with some real problems, danger on the streets, possible incarceration, being, tempted by drugs daily. There are a lot of things that these guys deal with that we're trying to combat. And I think the sport of wrestling is great for that because it teaches character development unlike any sport in the world. It's not glamorous, it's not sexy, but what I do know is that it'll make you a man. And that's what we need. We need men, strong men, with leadership abilities and the willingness to break generational curses in their families. And I think that we're in a pivotal role to do those things. I was lucky. I had two parents who are still together. They've been married over 30 years. My parents both worked for numerous years. My dad just retired this past year. He was a construction worker. My mom was a pension processor for Local 332 in Philadelphia. And I came from a middle-class, working-class family. And my parents worked really hard to put me in a position, but my dad always told me to control my destiny. Unfortunately, a lot of these kids don't have that sort of encouragement at home. And so who gives it to them? Us. They're heroes, real-life heroes that are willing to sacrifice their time. And so I got 4 kids of my own that I'm trying to encourage. But I think that, what I do know is there are a lot of things that are important to me, my family being one of them, but also I have a civic duty to the public and to the people that follow me. And I want to really encourage and motivate the individuals that I spend time with and all beat the streets locations.
So Aura won a gold medal
She's
in
a beast.
gymnastics while you were
Aura's
at
a
the
beast.
Pan Ams winning your gold medal. And word on the street is that you called her up before weigh-ins and
Yeah.
gave her a little prep talk.
Yeah.
What did you say to her?
So Aura is a phenomenal athlete. She will be 6 on Saturday. We're going to Hershey Park in Hershey, PA, so we're super excited. But she's a great athlete. All the kids have the pedigree, right? They got the DNA. And she's a phenomenal gymnast, and we had a competition the very same day. May 7th, I was in Acapulco, Mexico, and she was in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, in her first competition with her gymnastics class, and she won a gold medal. So she executes her form and all her routines precisely, and with a lot of just precision and excitement. She loves it. She's cartwheeling everywhere she goes. She really loves the sport, and so it was really exciting for us. It was an exciting time because, when I called her, I just told her, hey, I love you regardless. If you win, I love you. If you don't win, I love you. I'm like, when I come home and I see you, I'm gonna give you a big hug regardless of what color your medal is. But let's go in.
That's
and
awesome.
so I think it was pretty special. It was special, and she wore it all day. I called her that morning when she had first won it, and I called her back that night to say goodnight, and she still had it on in her pajamas. Outfits had changed, but the medal hadn't. It was still there, and she was really proud. She was really proud of herself, and we try to be a family that encourages one another to do special things. So she was the second in the family to win a gold, and we're working on getting this guy prepared to win a gold medal someday in a sport of his own. But right now, I think the biggest thing for us is creating individuals in Beacon and Aura and Rise and Banner that are going to be positive contributors to society, that are going to be servants, that are going to be great leaders, but also are going to be obedient to their parents. I tell them all the time, if you listen to mom and dad, you'll have quality lives. So we try to pour into them as often as possible. But again, I've got great leaders. I've got great mentors myself, and so I'm being poured in, and in turn, I can reflect all those blessings that I have, and that makes everything special.
Congrats, Jordan.
Congrats, Jordan.
Thank you, guys.